he provides this. Well, you can't do that. You have to go back to the other 5 or 6 vendors and say, will you provide this in your contract? In other words, we've got to have it equal. That's why I wanted to go forward. You need to go forward with a list so that each vendor is bidding on the same thing. If anything else is just anything.
Can I ask you another question? What happens if after the presentation, the committee gets together and says, what are the things that we like from each vendor, and you develop that list?
I don't have.
Then you go back to this. Then you go back to the same bidders. You say, these are the things we want. Now give me pricing.
Okay, this will be her third trip because she already has.
They want the contract.
I'm afraid we're not going to have everyone to bid. That's what I'm afraid.
Okay. It's a good point. Oh, Wanda, yes.
We're just ending our first quarter this year. I know we've gone through a lot, we're going through a lot. We had a situation where the manager was not doing her job. And because of that, a lot of things went to the wayside. We have a new manager. He said, give him some time to feel things out, and we haven't even done that yet, and we're jumping the gun. Okay, a lot is going on. I think that we need to get our post orders in order. Okay, we're going into wanting a new vendor, and right now we have a problem. Say, for example, he's not checking people in. Okay, let's take care of that. I feel like there's more serious issues that we need to concentrate on than a new vendor. Let Chuck do his job, because we had a manager that wasn't doing her job. And let's wait till the latter part of this year to determine if that's what we need. Let Chuck do his job. Let's get our post orders in order. Let's get our policy down in order. I was told that the guardhouse didn't have a post order policy. That is BS. They have post order policy procedures. What happened to it, I have no idea. But my point is that we're just finishing up the first quarter. If we're going to go into a new vendor, let's look at it towards the end of the year so we can propose it for the 2016 budget.
I have been involved now since basically the beginning of March. I personally have had 2 instances of issues on emergency basis with this guard company. And they're not issues that would be management directly. They should be something that the guards on site could handle. Basic power failure and basic problems with the lock and block functions. And they did have a policy, just like you just said. They just had a policy. There's also an owner that is claiming that one of the guards has falsified a report. So that's 3 strikes in my book, and I'm neutral here. I don't care who you go with, but I think it's time to look at changing the security. That's just my opinion as a management professional, because I have now seen 3 major instances that are an issue, big issues. Power failure should now be a crisis.
This is very rare. I agree with you 100%. You're welcome. And for those very reasons, and no other reasons. That I'm aware of.
Hold on, let's make sure I got everybody else.
And for the record, what Katie said, I don't disagree with it. Okay? They had 3 strikes. They've had 3 strikes since we've been here.
Yeah.
Okay? But this is not baseball. All right? This is a security company. And until we get a replacement, we're crazy to kick them out of here. So what we talked about was, in the security meeting, was let's move forward. Suzanne did all that work. She's got 7 bids. Let's move forward selecting a company. And then get rid of them. In the meantime, my job is to work with them. And that's what I'm doing.
So let me ask you, Chuck, with respect to the 30 to 45 days, when was that discussion? And
that was last month with
where are we in that process?
The 3 main issues that they've been having. One is direction. So they appointed the supervisor. We're not calling him a supervisor, but that's the post, whatever they want to call him. But the point is, I now have a contact. I now have a contact to go to. Yesterday, I spoke with Louis last night around 5:30.
Louis is the owner?
Yes. And I asked him why the rover car was still sitting in the parking lot. When I got here at 4:30 or, I'm sorry, 6 o'clock, yesterday, right before our security meeting, the rover was still sitting in the parking lot while he shows up at 6. Okay, that's fine. So I watched and I talked to the rover about 6:45, asking why he was still in the parking lot. Well, that's what I do until 9. I said, well, not tonight. Starting tonight, you're going to go park out in the back gate until 9 o'clock.
Ooh.
We're going to stop the double dipping through the gate. We're going to stop all that. Well, I can't do that. Okay, get Lewis on the phone. So Lewis got on the phone. I said to Lewis that from now on, from 6 to 9, the rover car parks at the back gate. And then I want you to go very slow, 3 miles an hour through the neighborhood until you get back here at 11:30. Then you have lunch, and then I want you to go real slow again back to the other side of the neighborhood again.
Did they do that?
Yes, they did. And then this morning, I came through the gate at 4 a.m. and I wanted to know why the light was off in the yard. The guy was sleeping, but the light was off. And I told him, I said, Mommy always told me that when I wanted to go to sleep, to turn the light off.
That's the fixed rate then.
So, but it's the little things, and they just need to be worked on until they find someone else.
Yeah, I understand, Mike.
I too was at that security meeting last night because of our financial fears on it. So I showed up a little late. And I wanted to hear what was going on with the fence so that we can make sure that we don't spend unnecessary money on plants that are going to be moved once the fence goes in or doesn't go away, however that's going to play out. But what I did notice is that our security committee is working already on doing what's best for this community, whether it be with general security or the direction that I think that they're heading in a new company. And what they're going to need is a little bit of time because they don't want to fire general security tomorrow without having a company ready to start yesterday. And although I agree with some of the things you say, Wanda, I completely disagree with you on this because the security is probably number 1 over 1A or 1B next to landscaping in this community. For our residents. And if our vendor is not performing, then they need to get out. And that's the reality of it. And if they're not doing what needs to be done, it's up to the security committee to make those recommendations and handle it.
Something that needs to be noted is that at any time, for any reason whatsoever, all we have to do is give them 30 days notice and they're out. So, my perspective, going off of what Mike just said, and if it's voted, it's voted. But I'm not ready to put a company in there yet. We don't have the number 1 company that we want yet. We don't have a recommendation to the board. I'm not going to give 5, 7 companies to the board without a recommendation, and the security committee not doing their job. So, since we're not ready, and we are slowly moving to that stage of being ready, in my opinion, it's not prudent to remove them until we are.
Can I ask you a question real quick? Would you be ready to have your, because I sent you the specs, right, that we use for other communities, where those bids presented up against the specifications that, and I just gave you general ones, so you modified them to your own.
Chuck and I were going to
Work on that. So do you think that you could have this presented and ready for us by the meeting on the 30th of the month?
Yes.
Yeah.
Next meeting, meaning the specs.
No, I mean the bid.
Not the specs. I mean,
Tell me, that's
I'm
what I
hearing
would
yes from the
Let
security.
me make a couple comments, because I think I'm going to do the same thing. And
You need to take 20 minutes to decide.
Listen, the last comment, and I'll ask, I got some comments, I want to ask you questions, and you give me your answers, and then I'm going to go to the audience, because we've got some other members. The first thing, the concern that I think was a very valid concern that came up in the security committee last night was, this is our first impression. This is the first time, this is the first person that people see pulling in here. And if we're having bad experiences with these people, we need to do something about it, okay? So I think we're all generally in agreement with that, with the exception of Wanda, I understand. The 30-day notice provision, we need to have the council look at that and make sure that it doesn't matter whether we got cause or not, okay? That's the other thing. We'll have the council look at that and make sure. If it doesn't matter whether there's cause or not, and there's a 30-day notice, then okay.
I get the contract to the attorney tomorrow.
Right, and the last thing is the ETA on the top 10 of the specs. I I don't know, but I need to hear from Eric, how quickly your committee can move after it selects the specs that Katie now has given you, and you can meld those together with your top 10, and then get the information to Chuck in the form of a spreadsheet so we can legitimately evaluate it.
And if you give me the list of the names of providers that you're going through, I can run them through service and get you back the spit out of who's the service and who's not. Or I can even give you to Chuck and I'll walk him through the process.
Just 2 weeks too early.
I mean, before they talk, I think it is.
How about 4 weeks?
We haven't even had a presentation from them. I haven't met you.
Okay, fair enough.
What?
Yeah, we're gonna give it to the audience in a second, hang on. So let me just get the answers to my questions, and then we'll go to those.
You got it.
So how long do you think that we will need to wait to get a recommendation from your committee? Or,
I can't give you an effective timestamp without actually doing the work. 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, I don't know. It's not, we're not talking about changing.
We're not talking about the right thing. Chuck, tell them about process. That's the problem. That's the problem. I want to 30 days. We can do that. But we need to go through the proper process.
Correct.
And we're not doing it.
that's what I need to know. Bob, that's what I'm asking. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to short circuit the process. What I'm trying to understand is.
And I don't think we can do that in 30 days.
How
I don't
long?
think we can
How long?
meld it.
How long?
What you want to do? I think we have to come back after the next board meeting. I'm on it as soon as I can. I just don't think we can get it done that.
Can I make a suggestion, Bill? Can I make a suggestion? The first thing you should do then is just get your specifications in order, go back to the companies that have already given bids, say, here's the specifications, we need a new bid, and it needs to be a sealed bid.
That's what I want to do.
That's what Chuck is currently doing.
Okay.
When's your next
I-
meeting? Your next committee?
Meeting's the third Wednesday of every month. But what exactly do you want from us in 30 days or 2 weeks?
At the appropriate time after you've gone through what Bob referred to as the process, I want a recommendation from the committee as to who we need to hire. That's what I want. And that's the purpose of the committee, is to evaluate, is to bid, to develop the specs, put it out to bid, evaluate the bidders, do presentations, and then come back to us with a recommendation. If you think that it's something that is not capable of being performed because of dates or deadlines or other things, then I need to know that so that I can have this board make a decision. And then we can have the presentation made directly to the board, and the board will make a decision. But I'd rather not do that. I'd rather have the experienced people, the people that have competency on your committee, and people that are attending your committee meetings, give us their advice based on representation. So think about that, okay? Let me take some comments from the audience. Anybody other than Suzanne? No, I'm just kidding. Go ahead, Suzanne. Suzanne's on the security committee.
I'm backing up what you're saying, is that we aren't security experts, whether it's law enforcement, whatever. When I contacted these companies, I said, this is where we live, this is what we currently have, but I want you to come look at what we have and suggest what's best for us. We don't know if we have our suggestions, but we don't know. So what they submitted is based on what we're doing right now and what we want to fix.
Achieve.
Or what they think we could do better on. Like somebody wants, maybe someone suggested, we put a laser line across the driveway so that when a car pulls up, somebody's already outside the gate to greet whoever comes in. So people can also give us ideas. So these companies can come do that. And I think, could we go back out and say, these are our specs, this is what we want? Yes, but again, we're not professionals, and I don't think that's the way to go. I don't care regardless, but people brought a lot of stuff in that if we take the time to take the presentation, we'll be able to pick, all of us on the committee, pick what works best. I think that's number one where we should start.
So am I hearing from you that it's your opinion that the committee needs time to again, go through what Eric was just discussing, which is to develop the specs, go back to the people that gave the bids, the 7 bidders, and then have them come in and do
I
presentations?
don't think we can, I think that we just have them come in, they've already come and looked, these 7 companies have already come and looked, and this is what we have. They want to come present to us what we think that they need. So we can have our top 10 and say, you know what, this one fits the mold of what we want the most. So we as a committee can have our top 10, and then these companies present to us. I don't think we go out to them and tell them, this is what we want, because we're not security experts, and we don't know where we're best for the community. So if the companies come in, then we can say, you know what, they fit 8 of our top 10. This one fit 1 of them.
And that's a function to be taken care of by the committee.
Yeah, and the
When, the
committee
next
will-
meeting?
That's up to Eric.
I mean, is that-
They will come in and present anytime. All these companies, they contact constantly, they want to come in and present to us. So that's up to Eric or us.
Okay.
I'm not doing that, and then, yeah, just want to say, security to me is the most important thing here. So saying we should wait a year, I think is absolutely wrong, and I know the board members, and I have no problem saying it. I contacted the state, I have the 12 records, they've been in violation. Some people don't think it's a big thing. To me, they lost my records, it's no good for me. So for me, that's the biggest violation of this company, besides all the stuff they do here, that I don't like letting people in and that type of stuff. But that I think should be addressed immediately. It's a huge issue.
Okay, thank you,
Sorry.
Suzanne. Dawn?
I think Suzanne hit on lots of points, and I understand she did a lot of research already, so I think you have the foundation there based on what she's brought to the table. Obviously, I'm not on the security committee, I'm just listening to what's going on. I would imagine the security committee gets the rover reports, they used to in the past, so they know, and you can identify what some of the problems are. I think that she is correct in that you're not security experts unless you have people on your committee that are. However, there's a certain RFP that you could put out, maybe like you said, the standard, which you put out, but also identify from check complaints that are coming in, and from your reports, from homeowners or road reports of what's going on with security, and use that as a basis to go along with it. But I think that, certainly you want to move, obviously, it sounds like everybody wants to move forward with a new vendor, but you don't want to move so quickly that you don't choose the correct vendor.
Correct.
I understand there's, different thought patterns out there, different concepts, etc. So I think you really need to do some due diligence. And unfortunately, Eric, when you move forward with a large vendor like this, landscaping, security, and management are the 3 biggest vendors, the most highest dollar amount, the most impact on the community, you're going to have to throw some extra time into it. So it's not a point of the next meeting, let's go over all these bids. I think you guys are going to have multiple meetings and do some serious presentation and get the proper due diligence in order to present to the board. And that's probably a process of 30 to 45 days. If you're going to move, maybe sooner, depending on how many meetings you have.
Mike?
As a board member, and being the landscape chair, I know that the stress that's put on myself to ensure that my vendors are performing, I know the stress that puts on my committee members to help me ensure that the vendors performing and the actions and the things we want them to change and add or subtract and whatnot. I think that the absolute last thing, and this is probably the first thing we're going to disagree on, I think the last thing that we
There's always a first.
I think the last thing that we need to do is remove this from the security committee. I think this needs to stay in committee as long as it needs to stay in committee. I don't care if it's 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, because I don't want to replace this vendor again in another year or 2 years. I want to build a long-term relationship with this vendor. I want our community to build a long-term relationship with our vendor, and that starts at the committee level. And if we remove that from them, we've just chopped wow, I almost said that word. We just chop the legs out of all of the work that our committees do, and we pretty much devalue their volunteer time. And I'm not willing to.
Don't misunderstand me. I'm not saying that that's what I would prefer.
Oh,
All I'm
I
saying is that
understand.
what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to give the security committee options so that you don't feel like you guys have to do everything. We want to try to help where we can, but I think the process needs to be moving, expedited. I think Chuck is willing to help out.
I don't disagree with that thought process.
We've got active committee members that want to help out. Bob has been instrumental and involved. So you have comments, Bob, and then I'll go back to the audience, and then we'll be done.
There's people in this community, my cohort to the right, that want to do away with the gate guard and just use, an automatic camera system. So the first thing I need to say to you before I march forward, and that's all we argue about, left, right, is I don't think we can do that without the membership voting on that. I consider that an enhancement or